When in doubt, JD Martinez out. How you doing, Mets fans? It's your boy Wardy, and we're back at it with our latest post-game segment as the New York Metropolitans take down the San Diego Padres by a final score of 5-1, secure the series victory with even Jose Quintana giving you a very solid start. So much to get into out of this victory for the Mets. JD Martinez single-handedly gave the Mets a beautiful homestand right now, where the Mets at worst will have a 4-10 run throughout the 6 games here at Citi Field. I would like to preface to everybody that I have an absolute massive migraine at the moment. That's a me problem, not a you problem. But if we are a little bit short with our time on the show today, that is in part why. I'm also out of town, as you guys can see, so not the usual setup, but we have so much to break down. This was a massive win for the Mets. They have won 4 straight games. They now currently sit just 5 games below 500 and simply 2 games out of that third wild card spot. That is why there's optimism in the air. The Mets get their first win on a Saturday with these Citi Connect jerseys on, folks. This has been a dark cloud over Citi Field. No more. It was a beautiful day in Flushing, and that held true. So much to get into. JD Martinez with not 1 but 2 massive bombs. Brandon Nimmo looking like a guy who does not have a concussion, driving in a couple runs himself, guys. A lot to break down. Very excited to do so. Also have our jersey giveaway winner that we will be announcing shortly into the show, so make sure you guys are chiming in for that one. We will talk about our great friends at Sower MLB Chew, how we're doing this insane MLB All-Star Break promo for 5 lucky winners to basically get a full ride to the MLB All-Star Break and everything that entails, again, by simply checking out our great friends at Sower MLB and doing a couple simple steps. So be on the lookout, folks. A lot to get into, but before we break down the ball game inning by inning, before we get into more on the numbers between the Mets here versus the Padres, what we liked from Jose Quintana, what we liked from this bullpen headlined by Daniel Nunez here. Offensively, what stood out outside of JD Martinez simply being that absolute dog of a DH and looking like the professional hitting savant that he surely is. After all that stuff, folks, I'm going to answer a bunch of your comments and questions throughout the live show, but spam those W's as you guys and gals first chime in live. For my replay viewers watching down below, spam those W's in the comments. Let me know your biggest takeaway from the Mets winning this one by a final score of 5-1 over the San Diego Padres at home at Citi Field. Yes, I am just as shocked and as happy as all you fellow Mets fans, seriously. And if you guys also didn't check out, I was on the New York Post Sports YouTube channel earlier today with my man Dexter Henry. We broke down a bit on Edwin Diaz, JD Martinez, and the Mets and the current playoff hopes, where things currently stand. You guys can check that video out there. It's the SNY New York Post Sports collab on that YouTube channel. It's also available on the New York Post Sports Twitter and probably Instagram as well if they have that. But shout out to my man Dexter for the invite. Always appreciate working with those guys at SNY and the New York Post. They're absolute beauties over there. But folks, a lot to get into. Spam those W's if you haven't already. I see Alex, great member of the chat. I see Darren, great member. How you doing? I see D, great member. Kish, everybody, all you guys. Oliver Gutierrez, how are you? Jack, Scott Greenwald with the $5 donation. Scott says, if Pete gets going behind JD, Senga comes back strong, and Christian Scott establishes himself, I'm telling you, there's a chance. There is a chance, and there's optimism in the air like never before, it feels like, this season for the Mets, after, again, they started to free fall the way that they did. 5 games below 500. If they sweep San Diego, I know that's a tall task, but we got to push for it. We got to try to bury this Padres team while we can, while they're vulnerable, and while we're having things clicking and working, both on the pitching and the offensive end, enough for the Mets out hit the Padres 10-2 in this one after a slow start from them. Scott, thank you so much for the donation. But yes, there's absolutely a chance for this Mets team. I'm not saying they're going to be complete buyers by the deadline and not selling at all, but what I am saying is that they have as good of a shot now than ever before to really start to get on a run here. And I told you guys, I said heading into this stretch, I need the Mets to at absolute worst go 3-3, and at best, of course, win them all. But if they can land in that 4-2 range, or it being 5-1, if the Mets again win tomorrow, that's what it'll be. That is as good of a homestand as we could ask for a Mets team that has been piss poor at Citi Field all season long with the dark, gloomy weather as well. So you can see with the weather getting better, of course, the Mets start to turn on here. Very exciting times, folks. But before we get into it all, continue to spam those buttons, hit that like and subscribe button. Let me know your biggest takeaway from this victory down below in the chat as always, folks. But now let's rip it and let's hear the official WardyNYM post-game jingle. Shout out to my guys, Greg and Jordan with the jingle. As always, the absolute beauties that they are. You say Nimmo had 2 RBIs. Let's see here. Nimmo did have 2 RBIs. Why? Is someone complaining about Nimmo in the chat? If so, I'm curious why that would be. Mets need to beat the fathers on the Father's Day. Yes, they do. And shout out, and again, to all my Mets dads out there, a very happy early Father's Day to you all. I plan to be here, guys, but I am not joking when I say that I'm going to be a dad, and the due date is Father's Day. So while I don't foresee it to happen tomorrow, it will be happening in the coming days. So as the soon-to-be father in the mere hours, days at this point, from one to another, again, happy Father's Day to you all, especially all those amazing Mets dads, and unfortunately raising their childs to go through misery the exact same way their fathers did. And that, of course, is what's going to happen with mine, and I cannot wait to formally announce the sex to you guys and the name and all that stuff. Very excited for it. That'll be happening at some point over this next week. It's feeling like at this rate. Jim Jones, thank you so much for the kind words. I appreciate that a lot. You guys are the absolute best. Yes, we love ourselves some Julio, guys. You see him there. So I don't want to waste too much time here, folks. Again, we have some awesome stuff to get into. Let me make sure that everything is prepped here and looking good. Okay, the jingle's minimized. The file is down. So we will, of course, get into a bit on the pitching and why Jose Quintana was actually brilliant tonight. Why exactly was that versus a Padres team that has been swinging the bat well, entering this 3-game set and flushing against the Mets? On the hitting end as well, we'll talk about how the Mets mustered 10 hits today, with JD Martinez getting on base a whopping 5 times, 3 for 3 with a couple not just a couple RBIs, but some massive home runs. Oh, JD Martinez, I have longed for a DH like you since the universal DH became apparent 2-3 years ago now. We finally have one, and we have power protection. Now it's just a matter if this guy by the name of Pete Alonso can provide the type of offense we expect from him, and that along with a Mark Vientos when he's swinging the bat well, not on the losing skid right now during this homestand because he only has 2 hits on this homestand, and Alvarez still trying to find his swing, working back from his injury. Once these guys are really full-fledged on a run here, you got to be feeling good about the Metsies on the offensive end as well, right? So, Darren, thank you for the kind words. Appreciate you guys all so much. Really does mean a lot, everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But, guys and gals, there is one thing that we do have to hop into before we talk more. And guys and gals, also one more thing. My apologies, folks. There's a couple updates for you all. I will be sharing a quick prospect farm report with you all before we wrap up the live show. That's something I will be doing every post game for the foreseeable future this season. Even if there isn't much to discuss on the prospect end, I want to make sure that I can relay to you guys some awesome updates. And there's a big one with our awesome slugger there in the minor leagues and Ryan Clifford. More on him later on in the show here, folks. But before we break down the game inning by inning and I get to all your awesome questions, your comments, your concerns, everything, 2 things for you all. One, I got to ask you guys, what is your level of optimism with the Mets right now on a scale of 1 to 10 after securing the series victory, winning 4 straight games, now sitting 5 games below 500, 2 games out of a playoff spot, you know, especially say versus a week ago? Where do you guys stand on the optimism front? And secondly, everybody, let's get into, drum roll please, our BetUS giveaway jersey winner. As many of you guys know, we were doing an awesome giveaway on the channel where we gave away a Metropolitan jersey of any player on the roster, and I told you guys all you had to do to enter this giveaway was 2 simple steps, was to sign up to BetUS with our unique link down below in the description. 1, 2, make sure that you place a bet of any type of sports bet. It could be $1, $1,000, doesn't matter. And then email me a receipt of you basically showing me a screenshot of placing said bet. That's all you had to do. And we had, you know, a decent amount of entries. Honestly, was surprised on how little took part in this, given the fact that it's a roughly $200 jersey for free from our awesome friends at BetUS, America's #1 sportsbook. But after doing, putting everyone's name that entered through a randomizer, the winner of this giveaway is Mr. Chris Schumann. Chris Schumann, I did reach out to you via email already. Chris Schumann was one of multiple people to reach out and send me proof that he had signed up and everything. So Chris, congratulations, my friend. Please reach back out to me via email with all your information so that way I can get you hooked up with that jersey as soon as humanly possible. And again, everyone else that entered and attempted, thank you so much. Rest assured, we will be doing more giveaways just like that in the near future, not only with BetUS, but with all other awesome people here on the channel too. But As we always do, we like to place at least one or two bets for the upcoming day, and we have the Metropolitans here again looking for the sweep tomorrow. And I'm going to be honest, I love the idea of looking at that. I also kind of like the idea of looking at some of these games tonight. The Yanks, again, try and get the series victory if they don't have that already. They're in Boston after Alex Verdugo had a nice little homecoming. The Seattle Mariners and the Texas Rangers there. Dodgers, Royals, White Sox, D-backs. I like the Diamondbacks a lot tonight, and I also really like the Seattle Mariners with the way that they have been playing, even against the Rangers, who aren't the worst team by any stretch. That is the two-pick parlay I'm personally going to place, and that is going to be 20, which will win you basically 40. I'm going to put 10 on the singular bets as well. Feel free to tail should you guys wish, but again, guys, sign up with our great friends today at BetUS by clicking the link down below. That way, you too get a 125% bonus on not your first, not your second, but your first 3 deposits, and you can get in on all your sports betting needs today at ease with our great friends at BetUS. But to hop back into this one, everybody, let's now break down the ball game inning by inning. I also do see 5 gifted. Daniel, thank you so much for the 5 gifted. For those that don't know, Daniel Kapskine, a great member here on the channel. Daniel promised that the Mets won the series here, that he would gift 5 lucky subscribers new memberships on the channel. So Tim Welsh, Oliver Gutierrez, Nadine Metz, Brittix, and Carla Pants, congratulations on being channel members here. And Daniel, thank you so much once again for the generosity, my friend. It always does mean a lot. Seriously, O's beat the Phil is awesome. Love to see that, especially after the O's faltered there in extras yesterday. My brother was at that game too. That was a wild one. But thank you guys all so much for that. You really do mean a lot to me, every single one of you. Daniel, thank you so much for the love. Really does mean a lot. But all right, guys, let's talk about the ball game. Let's break it down inning by inning as you guys and gals continue smashing like that subscribe button, like the amazing Mets fans that you are. We're almost at 50 likes already, so thank you guys all so much for that. All right, guys, let's get into this one. Let's start off in the first inning here. Again, we got Jose Quintana on the bump against Missouri here, who had a 9 ERA and a couple starts for the Padres this season. Thankfully, the Mets did what they needed to do to secure the victory. Starts off with a Fernando Tatis double, his 14th of the season, but thankfully nothing else transpired there. Francisco Lindor kicks off the bomb, the first with a walk, would then steal second base, his 11th stolen bag of the season. JD Martinez with a walk, so bases loaded, less than 2 out for the Metsies here. Alonso strikes out, however, and DJ Stewart lines out sharply to end the inning. Pete Alonso with runners in scoring position. That is a recipe for disaster, unfortunately, between the two parties the past month plus at bare minimum. It has been very frustrating, Alonso's continued struggles, and that needs a change and fast. Mark Vientos kicks off the bomb the second, however, after Jose Quintana had himself a nice clean inning 1-2-3 with a pair of strikeouts against the Padres. Marky V gets on via a walk. Then we see a Harrison Bader 2-out single, has the Mets 2-on 2-out for Francisco Lindor, who induces a walk, and Brandon Nimmo unfortunately pops out then to end the inning. Mets still tied 0-0. On the top of the third, we see nothing from the Padres. A nice clean inning of work, a couple groundouts and a strikeout against Kyle Higashioka for the southpaw Jose Quintana. Jose, again, who's terrible with that four-seam fastball. When things are working right, it's when that four-seam is not in that mixed bag much, and what we saw today was that sinker being worked beautifully today and inducing those groundouts, especially on a big contact hitter like Luis Arraez, who was famously traded not all that long ago from Miami to San Diego. Mets shut him down well so far throughout the first couple games. JD Martinez kicks off the bomb the third, though, with a walk. A Pete Alonso strikeout later. DJ Stewart does the same thing with the walk himself. DJ, who's been leading the Mets and one of the best bats in all Major League Baseball and getting on base, continues that exact trend here in the third. Unfortunately, Vientos would pop out and Alvarez strikes out to end the inning. In the fourth, we see a Jerkson Profar walk for a Profar who entered this series with basically a 170 WRC plus, 70% better than the average batter in baseball, is basically how good Jerkson Profar has been on a 1-year, $1 million contract, but thankfully has nothing to show for it so far throughout the first 2 games here in Flushing against the Mets. Far from a Jerkson Profar that you think is leading the way as a true all-star candidate there for the left field there in the National League. But no less, we see Donovan Solano would ground into a force out, and we would see Francisco Lindor with one of the best infield plays you will ever see. Lindor behind the back flip after a nice leaping grab to get The Solano ground out was huge to flip it to McNeil for that force out at second. I cannot begin to tell you all how impressed I continue to be and jaw dropped by Francisco Lindor, the one-time Gold Glover, the multi-time finalist. Even he was a finalist back in the 2022 season as well. I believe he only has one on his resume. No less, Francisco Lindor, again with the Gold Glove caliber defense. He's just a thing of beauty to watch out there. Lindor would provide some much-needed offense for the Mets that would lead to some runs. And this comes 2 outs after McNeil and Bader do nothing in the 4th. Jeff McNeil once again got the start over Jose Iglesias today. And once again, I'm trying to ponder as to why exactly that was the case outside of this potentially being the swan song, if you will, for McNeil and his tenure with the Mets here. McNeil continues to falter, continues to be behind in the count, and continues to look completely lost at the zone. His one hit today was a little bloopy that just dropped there to the left side, just out of the infield above the third base. But Jose Iglesias, who was hitting every single time out there, I would very much so like to see Iglesias starting in the series finale between the two teams. And I don't think that's much to ask for. It shouldn't be if we're going to be holding these players accountable. Lindor, though, that we see here in the 4th with a double, his 17th of the season, and Brandon Nimmo drives him in. Brandon Nimmo, 2-out doubles go hand in hand. He's done that plenty this season. There's one thing we can credit Brandon Nimmo for. He does have that clutch gene to a degree, absolutely, when things are starting to go right. And after getting these further concussion protocol things done because Carlos Mendoza wanted to make sure he's okay, Nimmo, after not being locked in the plate whatsoever, is looking beyond locked in now in this Padres series. He rips an RBI double to give the Mets a 1-0 lead, Brandon's 12th of the season. Yondy Burrito comes in then to relieve Adam Mazur's day is done. Can't even give them 4 innings. So just when you thought the Mets have had things bad with the lack of with the lack of depth from their rotation, things were even worse for San Diego today. And JD Martinez, who loves to hit against the San Diego team, does it once more. His 7th home run of the season, a 2-run ding-dong, makes it a 3-0 Metropolitan lead. Pete Alonso, of course, flies out thereafter, and the Mets are up 3-0 heading to the 5th inning. For everybody first chiming in live on a replay, happy to have you all in here. Really does mean a lot, folks, as we're breaking down the latest in Mets land. The Mets take this one, game 2 of a 3-game set against the San Diego Padres, by a final score of 5-1. The Mets here not only impressed thanks to JD Martinez's heroics once again, but a team that is finally getting some consistent winning down, having won 4 consecutive games. Will the Mets be able to prosper and continue this offensive run along with, a pitching staff which has been stepping up as of late, or will they falter heading into the series finale tomorrow on Father's Day? You guys let me know. And again, thank you all so much to everybody that's been chiming in live and on replay. But to hop back in this one and talk a bit more, want to make sure that I didn't miss any donations there. Don't believe I have. Great idea with the farm system. Thank you, Jim Jones. I appreciate that a lot, my friend. Long overdue. We got to be having prospect talk nightly on the show. The fact that we haven't this long is honestly just silly on my end when I know I can fit it in. So we got to do it every day, especially with a lot of these guys going to be called up later on this season, I'm sure, even if the Mets do become more buyers and sellers somehow by the deadline. But we get to the top of the 5th, and Jose Quintana, who's been awesome with the swing and miss stuff today, especially with that sweeper when he's got that slider working. If not, we saw there inducing those ground balls. But there's one man who doesn't care if no one else is stepping up for San Diego, because he will. And that's Jackson Merrill, the rookie center fielder, who I told you guys yesterday is a young phenom in the making. Rips his 4th home run over the past couple days, 7th home run of the season total on a fly ball to center field, and makes it a 3-1 ball game. Ha-Seong Kim and Kyle Higashioka strike out thereafter. Jose Quintana strikes out 3 and gives up the lawn ball. Very much a Jose Quintana type inning there when his, again, swing and miss stuff is going great, but knowing that he can cover the heart of the zone, even lefty-lefty, a guy like Jackson Merrill is going to make you pay more often than not. Just is such an entertaining bat. I cannot tell you guys how much I am enamored with Jackson Merrill and how much I'm impressed by him at his age especially. He and my man Borna Hogwatch. Hogwatch is the Padres' #1 post-game show that is very similar format of what we do here on WardyNYM, and he's been all over Jackson Merrill since the start of the year, and I don't blame him. He has been a thing of beauty. We see in the top of the 6th, thankfully, a clean inning there for Jose Quintana, and that would do it for Jose Quintana's final line, folks. It is as follows, everybody. It is 6 innings of 2 hit, 1 earned run, 2 walks, 6 strikeout ball. A sub-5 ERA out on the season for Jose Quintana. On a scale of 1 to 10, I would love to see you guys in the chat. Let me know where you stand in regard to Jose Quintana's final line today. if you had to give him a 1 through 10 rating on his production tonight, again, going 6 innings of 1 earned run ball was needed, to say the least, from the soft tossing southpaw who needs pinpoint accuracy to have success. Thankfully, you pair that a bit with a Padres offense that hasn't shown up yet in this series, and we get 6 strong innings. Let me know your thoughts there, everybody. Alan, thank you for the donation, my man. Says, sup, Wardy, good win. Good win indeed, my man. Thank you so much. Scott, thank you for the kind words regarding the SNY segment. It really does mean a lot. It's gotta be so vindicated for all your amazing, oh, thank you, pun intended work. Appreciate it. Really, anytime I get a chance to do stuff with them, the Fan, New York Post, Bleacher Report that I'm a host on, anytime those opportunities present themselves, I'm very grateful for. Next Bleacher Report segment 2 is actually a post-game show Monday night. As long as I'm not in a hospital room waiting for my baby to be born, I will be doing post-game on both YouTube and Bleacher Report late Monday night. So make sure you guys are looking out there. Very excited for that too. But all right, guys, let's see more of what we have here going between these two teams, because the ball game is not over yet. It is not over yet from the time that we're breaking this one down. And I did see one question that I did want to answer for you all real quick, if I can find it. If not, no worries. I can try to play catch up a little bit later on in the show here. There was okay, what's your opinion on 12 of 14 of Alonso's home runs coming in non-clutch situations, meaning nobody on? But yeah, I'm not surprised, Austin. That's been a trend that we've seen over the past year with Alonso, unfortunately, and he isn't doing himself any favors by not really righting the ship yet. It's been more the same, commonality with the way he's hitting home runs, for sure, that we've seen really for a calendar year plus now at bare minimum. Alonso, simply put, since 2022 has just not been that bat that we have been looking for in a lot of ways. And that's crazy to say when you look at his numbers last season. But again, not all those numbers, but a lot of that numbers can be fluff a bit when you have the lack of pressure and expectations, when you're completely out of a playoff run. And it's like, all right, what the hell? You got nothing to lose now. Let me just play loose and be comfortable. That's how you lock in and get in a zone. And Alonso in a walk year with all the pressure on his shoulders after denying that Mets extension offer by the deadline last year, yeah, I'm not surprised that he's pressing, because Alonso is the type of person, unfortunately, to be exactly that. He's an emotional player and an inexperienced player, not versed in the field of being in a walk year and having the type of, status of a player and the payday that they're looking for, the way that Alonso brings as one of the biggest sluggers entering this year's free agent market. But getting back into this one now, folks, to talk a bit more before we get on to wrapping up the breakdown of the game, before we continue on talking more on the pitching and the offense. The Mets are at this point again up 3-1. They have nothing happen in the bottom of the 6th. We see in the top of the 7th, nothing happens there. Daniel Nunez does a fantastic job. Daniel Nunez has continued to be a lightning rod in this Mets bullpen. In the bottom of the 7th, we see De Los Santos come in for Yoni Brito, and that was the worst decision the Padres could have made. I mean, maybe it wouldn't have mattered, because JD's going to hit a bomb off of every pitcher this series, it feels like. JD Martinez continues the hitting spree, this time with his 8th home run of the season on a fly ball to center right field. JDM, when it comes to center opposite field power, is simply unprecedented when viewing other big sluggers in the game of Major League Baseball right now. Far from a pull hitter is JDM, and in a ballpark that is very difficult to not be a pull hitter and still have power, JD Martinez is living up to the hype as a guy that said, I know I will hit better here than in San Francisco at Oracle Park. That is now holding true with the hot streak that Martinez has found himself on, and it's been quite impressive to say the least. And P. Alonso finally gets himself a hit here, an extra base hit to be exact, his 17th double the season thereafter, but a DJ Stewart, Mark Vientos, and Alvarez ground out later does it for the inning. Tyrone Taylor comes in the top of the 8th to replace DJ Stewart. He would bat 5th and replace him in right field. DJ didn't do much for the Mets today, did get on base, however, and we see there in the 8th, Daniel Nunez with another clean inning of work. Daniel Nunez, again, continuing to be impressive, to say the least, out of this Mets bullpen. Gave the Mets 2 beautiful innings, perfect innings, with a couple strikeouts, a 2.04 ERA on the season for Daniel Nunez. Everybody in the chat and for people watching replay, let me know down below in the comments, how impressed have you been by Daniel Nunez this season and his beautiful 1-2 punch arsenal? I mean, that fastball has been an absolute thing of beauty. His command of that between his breaking pitch has been simply gorgeous. And I'm not just talking, the four seam here. We got the slider, the sinker, the changeup, and the curveball. So you got a plethora of weapons here. But that four seamer that, again, topped out 98, sat 96 today. The slide piece topped out 88, sat 87. The sinker sat 95. The changeup was sitting 92. Curveball at 84. He looked sharp. And there's actually one little point I'd like to share from my man Isaac Rothman, who gives me a little bit of a pitching analysis after every game. Nunez threw a changeup for basically the first time this season, and it was 91 miles per hour and 21 inches of run on it. That's like an unbelievably good pitch, especially for your first time throwing a changeup. So bear that in mind. If this is now another pitch in the arsenal for Nunez, who, on my mistake, I don't know why I initially said he had two pitches, because I knew he didn't, because we've seen the four seam, the slide, the sinker especially, that we've seen a couple times. Today we only saw the sinker, the changeup, and the curveball all thrown once. He's a four seam slider heavy guy, so that's probably why I said that, because you don't see it a lot. But very impressive stuff there with the changeup, and you have to wonder if that'll be something he pulls out of his back pocket more if need be, if, say, the fastball and slider isn't getting the job done, or if, say, he doesn't have the most comfortable command there. But as we head to the bottom of the eighth, again, Mets are doing great things. McNeil has himself a single on a bloopy to left field, and then Brandon Nimmo, 2 outs later, would drive him in with a single. Brandon Nimmo's second RBI and second hit of the day makes it 5-1 New York Metropolitans. JD Martinez would then hit his third hit of the day, fifth time on base with a single. Reed Garrett shuts the door in the ninth, and that does it for the ball game. The Mets go on to win again by a final score of 5-1. Currently sit at 32 and 37 on the season, and the San Diego Padres team, currently sitting second in the NL West, holding a wild card spot, are now back to 500 on the season. The Mets did exactly what they need to do, and while the offense was frustrating early, the hit parade would come as the game would carry on, especially from the fourth inning thereafter. Fantastic production by JD Martinez, Brandon Nimmo, and this entire group as a whole. Just awesome stuff to see from the New York Metsies. Pat Metz with a $20 donation. Thank you so much. Pat Metz says, I like Alonso, but maybe what Stearns and some other GMs feel, he is the type of player who doesn't project well as he gets older. It may not happen, but the pattern appears to be leaning that way. So in regards to Alonso, I think he absolutely has the potential to continue to be a true power slugger and one of the best in the game for the next, 5 to 10 years. I firmly believe that. However, big bopping first basemen are replaceable, especially if you're not elite defensively. Pete Alonso has been above average, but he puts his body out there too much. And I get concerned that the more that Alonso lays his body out, he could be susceptible to injury, because he literally does it at such a higher rate than the second closest first baseman in the league. Secondly, I think about the ability to alternate from a first base to a DH with more than one player. And with a guy like Mark Vientos stepping up the way that he has so far this season, and with the way that the Mets have internal power options and can seek external ones, they are not going to have their foot down and say that Pete Alonso must stay a Met for the rest of his career because he's a homegrown talent. And the simple reason why, this is a David Stern ran Mets that didn't draft Pete Alonso. While he admires Pete and I'm sure would love to keep him, he wants him at their price when they know they can get the same type of value elsewhere by allocating in these areas, and they say don't want to give $30 million a year to a Pete Alonso on the north of a 7-year deal. So, yeah, I see both sides of the coin here, but for Alonso, I definitely understand the viewpoint that, okay, he might not project too well, but at the same time, if he can just get his head out of his ass, to be quite frank, on the emotion standpoint a bit, Alonso has all the potential in the world to be a consistent power hitter, to be the next JD Martinez, where he's hitting 35 to 40 plus bombs every season until he gets into his late 30s. I think Alonso absolutely has that in him, but he needs to find this mental toughness, as my good friend Joe Serralo and former co-host would love to say about certain players. I just haven't seen that with Pete. That's something that I truly hope does change before it's too little, too late, not only for the sake of him staying with the Mets, but also his career, no matter where he lands beyond the 2024 season here. But Again, everybody, the Mets win this one by a final score of 5-1. And as we take a quick look here on the hitting side for the Mets, what stood out? And shout out to my over 700 live viewers combined between YouTube and Twitter. Appreciate every single one of you guys taking the time to watch the live show here. Always means a lot, everybody. But we see with the Mets here on the offensive end, again, it wasn't a lot. And I don't like Mark Vientos and Alvarez, low in the order the way that they've been. They haven't been producing there. And I know the counter is just like, okay, but if Marte and say Tyrone Taylor do like they did a couple days ago, why does it matter? I just know that when it comes to the power, I want it early and I want it often. I still would like to see Vientos and Alvarez moved up. I also want to see Jose Iglesias starting at second base over McNeil tomorrow. Should have happened today, but it is what it is. The Mets still secure the victory. The same way DJ Stewart getting the start in right field today over a red-hot Starling Marte had more to do with Marte's, knee barking once again, which is going to be a recurring problem. The latest thing for the middle of 30s aging right fielder. And Starling Marte, who the Mets should have never signed to the length of the contract in the way that they did. But Marte now is hitting so well that, I was still a little taken back that he wasn't in the lineup. Still, though, even with how the configuration was, it was a slow roll against Missouri today, the right-hander for the Padres, but they would ultimately beat up on him and just do what they need to do to win. And JD Martinez, as a surprise to absolutely nobody, if you've been watching the Mets for the past week or two, was right in the thick of it all. And talking about the Mets' offensive numbers as a whole, everybody, from today's game, it is as follows. And I'm going to share it with you all right now. We saw the Mets expected batting average tonight against the Padres, 291 to 210. 10 hits to the Padres, measly 2. Francisco Lindor, 1 for 3 with a double and 2 walks, a 230 average and 713 OPS on the season. Brandon Nimmo, 224 average, 724 OPS, a 2 for 5 massive day, including an RBI, 2 RBIs and a double. Pete Alonso, 1 for 5 with a double himself, but 3 strikeouts. Alonso getting closer and closer to the Mendoza line, now sitting 229 with a 760 OPS. It is that kind of production, I promise you, the Mets will not be chomping at the bit to try to return this offseason. DJ Stewart 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts, a 176 average, and a 662 OPS. DJ Stewart's time with the Mets might be coming to an end if they cannot find a better way to utilize him than what they had to this point, in which DJ's production has simply nosedived since the very limited role he has had in JDM's arrival. Obviously, because JDM is an absolute dog. We see Mark Vientos 0 for 3, another 0 for. And if you're wondering, why is Mark Vientos cooled off so much? Blame Citi Field. He has only 2 hits on this homestand. We'll probably go 0 for again tomorrow. And, I'm not going to be calling for Bay to be called up right away or anything like that. Mark hopefully will start to turn things on when the Mets have their road trip after tomorrow's game. But Vientos, 287 average, 874 OPS. Francisco Alvarez, 1 for 4 for Alvy, 217, 579. McNeil, 1 for 4 with a run scored, 222, 597. And Harrison Bader, commanding center as well as he always does, 267, 693, 1 for 4 on the day. Danilo Nunez was nails. Reed Garrett got the job done, and Jose Quintana worked his arsenal beautifully, everybody. So for me personally, if you're asking for my Jose Quintana opinion and point of view, I got to give Jose Quintana a nice, a comfortable, a solid 7 out of 10 in this one, a 7 to 7.5 even. I'd have him right there. You know what? Actually, we're going to go there. Because the bar's so low, it's got to be at least a 7.5, right? Because I think I had Sean Manaea in the similar realm because Manaea impressed me a lot. He just only won 5 innings. Quintana going 6, though, something that I appreciate. I would love 7, but I know that's a tall task with this Mets team, so I will take the little victories as they come. And Jose Quintana, again, just worked his arsenal as good as one could hope and expect from the soft-tossing right-hander. I will quite frankly say, had zero interest in watching, and I was far from looking forward to seeing Quintana's what I thought would be a lack thereof on the production front. But Quintana that we saw today with the sinker, 4-seam, changeup, curveball, and slurve, a couple things stand out. That sinker stood out at 28%, and it topped out at 91. 4-seam at 27% of the arsenal, average at 91. And for the sinker, topped out at 93, by the way. Changeup, 19% of the arsenal, average 86. Curveball, 18% of the arsenal, average 78. The slurve that he threw just 6 times, 7% of his arsenal, and around 78 miles per hour. What we saw with the whiff percentage was whopping on the changeup. The changeup was thrown a total 17 times, 19% of the arsenal, and he had a whopping 40% whiff rate on the changeup. The sinker as well, having that as his leading pitch and not his four-seam fastball was important because he gets little swing and misses usually with the four-seam at just a 17%, 21% on the sinker, but the curveball at 25% and the slurve at 50%. Doesn't throw the slurve often, but when he does, he induces those swings quite a bit. So Jose Quintana with a very sharp outing for a Mets team that we still hope and expect to see Christian Scott back in this rotation sooner rather than later. I would still even make the argument for a guy like Mr. That being in there, Jose Buto, who went 5.2 innings of one earned run ball yesterday for the Syracuse Mets. Either way, I will again take these victories as they come, everybody. I definitely want to know more on your thoughts from that one. But everybody, before we get on to our farm report, and I'll get to your comments if there's anything specific you guys got for me. Carlos Ortiz, how you doing? Great member. Carla, everybody, Straight Talk with Jack Graham, great member. Thank you so much, everybody. You're the absolute best. To my replay viewers, how you doing? Happy to have you in here. But before we talk a bit more, folks, let's talk about our awesome friends at Sower MLB. Because as we've been talking over the past couple days, they are doing an MLB All-Star promo quite like nothing you have ever seen before. And give me 1 second, everybody, because I just want to make sure that this is all set up on my end. Of course. Okay, so anyways, unfortunately, I'm having a slight hiccup issue on my end when it comes to trying to connect the promo. So we will run the promo again tomorrow for our next post-game show. Not a problem. No worries at all. But simply put, folks, if you go and click the link in the description of the live show today and check out our awesome sponsor at Sower MLB, and all you guys got to do is build a collection of virtual cards that you guys utilize in the fantasy game. Build a collection to get a score of 150. It will say MLB All-Star Collection Event. You click that. You buy some cards in the marketplace. You can literally build this collection with, say, $10 spent on just, no-name relievers that aren't even on the Mets anymore, that are cards from last year's game, or you can buy ones from this year's game that aren't expensive. All it takes is around $10 or so of building your collection for a team that you then use to draft your team and enter weekly tournaments. But in this time, you just needed the collection score to be around 150, which just means you need a handful of Mets players or players on a different team. You're then automatically entered for your chance to win one ticket to the MLB Home Run Derby, one ticket to the MLB All-Star Game, one ticket to the MLB Futures Game, one ticket to view the Home Run Derby or MLB All-Star batting practice there on the field, 4 tickets to the MLB MLB Play Ballpark, one for each day, and a $1,000 travel credit. And again, 5 lucky winners will be selected for this free ride basically to the MLB All-Star break. And all it takes is pretty much $10 and 5 minutes of your time with our great friends at Sower MLB. So check it out by clicking the link down below to check out the best MLB fantasy game today. And everybody that gets the privilege of going to this year's MLB All-Star event, have an absolute blast. And I'm trying to go there myself, so we'll see what happens. I believe it's in Texas this year, so I'm sure it'll be beautiful weather. But all right, everybody, I do see some of you guys in the chat. I had a long time no see. How are you? Hope everything is fantastic, my friend. Longtime supporter here. Lugo says Jose Abreu was released by the Astros. He's far from a good pickup, however. Jose Abreu is washed. If he can't even bat above 120 with the Astros, we got a problem here. No thank you on the Jose Abreu front. I will stick with my grizzled vet of a DH and JD Martinez every single day of the week and on Sundays. Zach Flakerton in the chat says Pete Savant page doesn't look good. 44th percentile average velocity and hard hit percentage, 26th percentile launch angle sweet spot. These are areas you expect Pete to be better in, especially sweet spot 100%. Yep. He needs to be better. We know this. And talking about the future of the Mets a bit, especially with there being such a uncertain future on the Alonso front, let's pivot now into getting into our little nightly WardyNYM farm report. Because let's start here with the Rumble Ponies, because the Rumble Ponies tonight here as we currently stand are losing 3-2 in the 6th inning to the Somerset Patriots. But what we did see today, at least production-wise, was our guy, Ryan Clifford. Again, the Mets' best slugger in the minor leagues. He's pretty much batting 200 with a 900 OPS because he is our little Kyle Schwarber right now. Clifford, who can play first base and command the corner outfields along with DH, is a massive power bat. Clifford ripped his second home run in as many days. Yesterday it was in walk-off fashion for the Rumble Ponies. Today it was a nice shot. 2 RBIs already on the day for Ryan Clifford with a 205 average and a 916 OPS to be exact. Also, Alex Ramirez, in which Ramirez, who really stepped up big time in this year's spring training, has had an underwhelming pro season at this point with a 227 average and 635 OPS, commanding left field there for the Rumble Ponies. And that's all you really need to know, along with Jeremiah Jackson, who has struggled mightily. Jackson and Clifford, the Mets both acquired last year at the trade deadline. Jackson was acquired in a separate trade. I want to say he was a part of that deal where we traded away that schmuck reliever. I'm already blanking on his name. We traded him to the Angels. I don't even remember his name, nor do I care. You guys can let me know in the chat who that is. And Ryan Clifford was, of course, a part of that Justin Verlander trade, which we're all very happy about. Nolan McLean, who, of course, we are all very excited about. Our Cowboy Ohtani, unfortunately, was far from Ohtani today. McLean on the bump here for the Mets. 5.2 innings, a 4-hit, 3 earned run, 3 walk, 2 strikeout ball, and allowed a pair of home runs. We see on the Mets and the Syracuse Mets today, currently losing 4-0 through 5 innings against the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs, the affiliate for the Philadelphia Phillies. And on the offensive end, the Mets only have 1 hit, and it comes from Austin Allen. So nothing to look at there. Joey Fuego, more like Joey Cook tonight, unfortunately. I love Joey Lucchese. Shout out to his mama, Michelle, who's a great supporter on the channel. Unfortunately, just not Lucchese's night. The same way Joey gave up like 5 over 4 against the Phillies in his spot start. He essentially did the exact same thing against the Phillies affiliate here. 4 innings of 5 hit, 4 earned run, 2 walk, 2 strikeout ball, including 3 home runs allowed. The long ball killed the Mets so far in the minor leagues today. And I will quickly check as well with the Port St. Lucie Mets if there's anything good that happened there. Let's see here. Port St. Lucie's score for the Mets. I will do the same with the Brooklyn Cyclones before we wrap up our conversation tonight. And thank you to everybody that's been taking the time to chime in live on a replay. Greatly appreciate every single one of you. For the Mets here, they're tied 2-2. Port St. Lucie Mets, so they're low A here in the bottom of the 6th against a team that I don't know, if I'm being quite frank. We see Jesus Baez 1 for 3, a big bopper in the minor leagues. Baez there. Tanner Houck, who again is a top draft pick by the Mets over the past year or two. Nothing to show for it offensively again today. Willie Fanas has yet to record a hit as well. Fanas was a recent, international signing period signing by the Mets over the past year or two. 226 average, 701 OPS on the season. Tanner Houck, 201, 628. Not looking good for Houck, who, of course, is a diehard Atlanta Braves fan and native of that area. So we got to make sure he doesn't pull any nonsense on us and just plays bad until we drop him, and then the Braves pick him up and he does good. Something along those lines. Now let's look up Cyclones box score, and then we will wrap this discussion up, everybody. Brooklyn Cyclones. What we got in Brooklyn right now. Okay, Cyclones currently up 7-5 through 7 here. And I have no clue who they're playing, and that's fine too. I'm going to butcher most of these teams' names in general. Either way, we see the Cyclones. Nick Morabito, who has been fantastic, a high-rising outfield prospect for the Mets. Morabito, who's drafted in the second round just a year or two ago, has a 304 average and 784 OPS on the season. We also see from the Mets here, especially on, the offensive end, not too much to really show that of standouts, I should say. We see, Nick Lorusso, 23-year-old, who was drafted by the Mets in the 9th round, is having himself a nice offensive day and has a 259 average and an 839 OPS on the season. The Carmel, New York native, drafted, and again, in the year, wow, that's crazy. Birth date is 9/11/2000. Went to Maryland. So again, Nick, the New York native here, has been having a nice season thus far for the Brooklyn Cyclones. I'm sure that has to be pretty good for him. He is a prospect on the outside looking in for Mets top prospects, but a name to keep a closer eye on as he's been having a solid year there with the Brooklyn Cyclones. But folks, that's going to do it really on the update front. I want to thank you all so much, everybody that took the time to chime in live on a replay, folks, and stay tuned. We will be back live more than likely tomorrow, even on Father's Day, because if this Mets team could go out and sweep the San Diego Padres, then they will find themselves just one game or so out of a playoff spot in that wild card position, and they're going to continue to push here, where the Mets have had the 5th to 7th hardest schedule in all baseball at this point in the season. The rest of the way through, they have among the 10th or so easiest. So while, again, the Mets are still going to have quite the uphill battle to climb, they have a schedule that's now become more favorable than ever for the foreseeable future, as long as things don't complete 180 out of the National League, and I'm sure that wouldn't shock me if that happens. But with the complete mediocrity and the lack of competency from a lot of these teams in the NL, that has kept the Mets in this one, and now let's see what they can do. And yes, it was Dominic Leone in regards to that pitcher. You guys are absolutely right, and thank you so much for the update in regards to that one. I appreciate that. But guys and gals, that is going to do it again for the live show. I want to thank you all so much for watching live on a replay. The Mets win this one by a final score of 5-1, and they look for the series sweep and their 5th straight victory and a 4-game below 500 record after tomorrow's Father's Day game. Have a great one, folks, and as always, no matter what, let's go Mets, baby.